Hey, everybody, welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today into some relationship red flags.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, those little signs that your seemingly perfect relationship might be headed for Splitsville.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you're here because you're worried about your own relationship, or maybe you just like to know about this kind of stuff.
Right.
Whatever the case, we're going to be unpacking this article from Your Tango that talks about all these tiny signs
Yeah.
that even a good couple could be headed for divorce.
It's interesting because I think a lot of times we're so focused on the big picture of a relationship
Yeah.
that we kind of miss those subtle shifts,
Right.
those little things that could be cracks forming that we don't even realize.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this could happen to anyone,
Yeah.
even couples that seem like they have it all figured out.
Right. So let's jump right into it. This article starts off by talking about communication breakdowns.
Okay.
And I think we can all relate to this. When you ask your partner, is something wrong? And they're just like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But something is up. But they just won't talk about it.
Right.
Have you ever been there?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
That feeling of like, come on, I'm not buying it.
I know something's going on.
Totally.
And that's the thing, though, right? Like, just because you're talking to each other doesn't mean you're communicating.
That's true.
Like, chatting about what you're going to have for dinner or who's doing the dishes doesn't really count.
Yeah.
We're talking about the deep communication.
Yes.
The vulnerable stuff.
Yeah.
Really listening to each other and being willing to tackle the hard conversations.
Totally. And it's not even just about like the words we say.
Right.
The article also talks about a 2022 study about nonverbal cues.
Okay.
Apparently, like 93% of communication is nonverbal.
Wow.
So even if your partner's saying, oh, I'm fine, their body language could be telling you a whole different story.
Absolutely. I think it's about paying attention to those subtle changes.
Yeah.
Like their tone of voice, if they're making eye contact, even if they let out a big sigh.
Yeah.
These things can reveal a lot more than words can sometimes. So learning to recognize those cues in your own relationship, I think, is really valuable.
Yeah, totally. It's like a secret decoder ring or something.
Exactly.
Okay. Next up, we are tackling something that might sting a little bit. Fading romance.
Ooh.
So think back to the early days of dating. When you would remember every little detail about your partner.
Yeah.
Every funny thing they said, every inside joke.
Mm-hmm.
When did that start to fade? This article talks about how forgetting anniversaries or birthdays or other important milestones can be a sign that your partner's attention might be elsewhere.
Right. Or at the very least, I think it's a decrease in effort.
Yeah.
And it's not always intentional. But I think those forgotten dates can symbolize a larger pattern of taking each other for granted.
Yeah, it's like you used to go all out with elaborate date nights or surprise each other with gifts. And now you're just like happy if you remember to pick up milk on the way home from work.
Totally.
And speaking of things fading,
Okay.
let's get real and talk about intimacy.
Yeah.
So the article mentions this statistic. I'm not sure how accurate this is.
Okay.
But apparently, the average married couple is intimate twice a week.
Oh?
Now, I know that's probably going to raise some eyebrows out there.
Sure.
But the point is, how much emphasis are you putting on intimacy in your relationship?
Right.
Like, are we hitting that mark,
Oh.
exceeding it, falling way behind? I don't know.
Right. Well, and I think even beyond the physical aspect of it,
Yeah.
it's about making each other feel desired and appreciated.
Yes, absolutely.
It's about affection, feeling connected, really truly wanting to be close to your partner.
Yeah.
And there was some research done in 2017 that showed how crucial those things are for happiness in a relationship.
Right.
So even if you're not, doing the deed twice a week, are you still making each other feel loved and valued? I think that's the key question here.
For sure. I mean, and that kind of leads us into this next red flag that the article talks about.
Okay.
Which is basically becoming roommates with your partner.
Uh-huh.
You're sharing the same space, maybe even the same bed,
Right.
but you're living increasingly separate lives.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we've all seen this happen, maybe even experienced it ourselves.
Totally.
You're both busy with work, maybe different hobbies, and you just kind of end up passing each other in the hallway
Right.
on the way to your separate fun activities,
Yeah.
which isn't exactly the recipe for a thriving relationship.
No, not really.
And what's at play here is that emotional distance.
Yeah.
When you're not making that conscious effort to connect on a deeper level,
Right.
to share experiences, to really be present with each other, that distance can start to feel like a giant chasm.
Okay, so we've talked about communication breakdowns, feeding romance, and feeling like roommates.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
Okay.
This article also gets into some seriously domestic red flags like sleeping in separate beds. Like, is that really a deal breaker? I don't know.
Well, it points to something deeper, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe it's different sleep schedules, or maybe someone snores like a chainsaw.
Right.
Or maybe it's just you crave that extra space.
Yeah.
But the bed should be a place of intimacy and connection.
Ideally.
Yeah, ideally. And so if you're consistently choosing separate sleeping arrangements,
Right.
it's worth asking yourself, what's really driving that? What's going on beneath the surface?
Yeah, and then there's that classic scenario of the workaholic partner who'd rather pull an all-nighter at the office than spend quality time with their significant other.
Oh, no.
Talk about a recipe for resentment.
Absolutely.
Right.
When work consistently trumps the relationship, it just throws things out of balance.
Right.
And those missed family dinners or, constantly having excuses for why you can't be present.
Yeah.
Those can be major red flags that shouldn't be ignored.
It's like that saying, no one on their deathbed ever wished they'd spent more time at the office.
Right.
Pretty sobering.
Yeah. It's a good reminder to prioritize what matters.
Uh-huh.
A work is important, of course,
Yeah.
but so are the people we love. And if we're constantly sacrificing one for the other, something's got to give.
Okay, you ready for this next one? This one made me laugh out loud when I read it.
Okay.
The article talks about how couples can start to feel like, well, roommates.
Oh.
Going through the motions, sharing a space, but not really connecting on any deeper level.
Right.
I actually have a friend who was in that situation for years, and she was like, wait a minute. I'm basically living with a platonic roommate who I occasionally have awkward sex with.
Yeah, that's so common, though.
Right?
I think it speaks to the danger of complacency in relationships.
Uh-huh.
You get comfortable, you stop putting in the effort, and before you know it, you've drifted miles apart without even realizing it.
Yeah, it's like you're sharing a Netflix account and splitting the rent.
Yeah.
But that initial spark, that excitement of being together is totally gone.
Right.
And here's where the article kind of throws another wrench in the mix. Stress.
Ooh, yeah.
There was a study in 2021 that found that stress can be a major relationship killer.
Makes sense.
It affects our mood, our energy levels, our ability to communicate effectively.
Yeah.
It basically turns us into the worst versions of ourselves.
I can attest to that.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
I'm a total monster when I'm stressed out.
Right.
Like snapping at my partner, picking fights over the stupidest things.
Yeah, but I think that's the point, though.
Yeah.
Like those little arguments, those blow-ups about, whose turn it is to empty the dishwasher.
Right.
They're often a symptom of something much bigger.
Right.
Maybe it's resentment. Maybe it's unmet needs.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just you're both running on fumes.
Yeah, you're both exhausted.
Totally.
So basically what this article is saying is that even those perfect couples,
Yeah.
the ones who seem like they have it all figured out,
Right.
they can still be vulnerable to these little red flags.
Absolutely. And I think the takeaway here is awareness. We need to be mindful of those patterns that can slowly chip away at a relationship.
Right.
We need to communicate openly and honestly, make time for connection and intimacy, and address those underlying issues before they become giant relationship-ending obstacles.
So even if we think our relationship is solid, it's important to stay vigilant.
Yeah.
And keep an eye out for these warning signs.
Absolutely, because here's the thing, relationships require constant nurturing.
Right.
They're not a set it and forget it kind of deal. We have to be proactive. We have to put in the effort even when things are good.
Yeah.
That's what keeps the spark alive.
Wow. Okay. This deep dive has been a roller coaster of emotions.
It has.
Laughter, shock, maybe even a little bit of fear.
Sure.
But it's also been incredibly eye-opening.
But don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom.
Okay, good.
The good news is awareness is the first step toward positive change.
So what can our listeners do with this newfound knowledge? How can they actually put it into practice?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And honestly, it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
But if I could leave you with one final thought, it would be this. What's one small positive change you could make today to strengthen your relationship or become more aware of those potential red flags?
I love that. It doesn't have to be some grand romantic gesture or anything.
No, not at all.
Just something small and intentional.
Exactly. Maybe it's putting down your phone during dinner and really listening to what your partner has to say.
Right.
Maybe it's scheduling a regular date night, even if it's just ordering takeout and watching a movie together. Or maybe it's just making a conscious effort to express your appreciation more often.
Yeah.
little things can make a big difference.
So it's all about being proactive, paying attention, and making those conscious choices to nurture the relationship.
Exactly. Remember, relationships are a journey, not a destination.
Ooh, I like that.
There will be bumps in the road, detours, maybe even the occasional wrong turn.
Yeah.
But with awareness, communication, and a commitment to growth, you can navigate those challenges and build a love that lasts.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder that thought-provoking question. What one small change can you make today? Until next time, happy diving. You know, it's interesting what you said about relationships being a journey.
Yeah.
It makes me think about how we often put so much pressure on ourselves to find that perfect relationship.
Right.
That fairy tale ending.
No.
But maybe it's not about perfection at all.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Maybe it's about embracing the messiness, the challenges, and growing together through those experiences.
I think you're absolutely right. No relationship is perfect.
Yeah.
And honestly, who would want that?
Right.
Where's the fun in perfect?
Totally.
It's those imperfections, those quirks and challenges that make a relationship unique and special.
Exactly. It's about finding someone that you can laugh with, cry with, and navigate all those ups and downs with.
Yeah.
Someone who challenges you to grow and become the best version of yourself.
And someone who you can just be completely yourself around.
Yeah.
Flaws and all.
Right.
I think that sense of acceptance and unconditional love,
yes,
that's what truly makes a relationship thrive.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into all these sneaky signs of relationship trouble,
right,
it's important to remember that it's not about pointing fingers or placing blame.
Right.
It's about recognizing those patterns, having those open and honest conversations, and making a conscious effort to nurture that connection.
Absolutely. And remember, it's never too late to make a change.
Right.
Whether you're in a long-term relationship or just starting out, those small intentional acts of love and connection can make all the difference.
So to our listeners out there, as you go forth into the world, armed with all this newfound knowledge, remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to your partner, and never stop exploring what it means to truly love and be loved.
Well said. And remember, the journey of love is an adventure. Embrace the ups and downs, cherish the good times, learn from the challenges, and never stop growing together.
Until next time, happy diving.